Isn't it gorgeous? Isn't it beautiful? That is Chongqing, ladies and gentlemen. I have been there 9 years ago now, and I do not remember it like that. I have a feeling I went in the daytime. My name's Shaker Panko. This is Mr. Clement Chu. And Mr. Clement Chu, this is a series that has now escalated. JDG just brought it back and went, oh.
And there were so many good plays on JD Gaming's part. If you look at the compositions, I think a big part of it was how that how LNG's comp actually didn't interact that well with JD Gaming's composition. Think about Xayah. It's a champion that punishes you when you go in. Yep. Well, JD Gaming's comp was about poking. There was no Featherstorm that was actually looked very useful throughout that entire game. And also you can see the synergy, the language difference between Plex and the rest of his team. Didn't really have a good Pop Blossom that game either.
That's true.
So JD Gaming, I feel like they have found some ways to beat to defeat LNG. Be more careful about the flanks. Make sure you pick something that doesn't really doesn't run directly counter into their composition, and you'll be fine. So I have to give a little bit more of an edge over to JD Gaming.
Yeah, that's interesting because coming into this series, we're like, how's JDG going to perform after game 1? I was pretty sure it was going to be about LNG, but no, game 2 comes up trump, and Yagao will be our MVP of game number 2. So curious to see how this develops, because after that, what a return to the Jace. 33%, by the way. So good recovery.
Yeah, this guy is just tremendous on any champion that he can poke onto. If you saw the second fan phase from LNG, they had to take away his Zoe, had to take away his LeBlanc just for that playmaking ability.
Of course, yeah.
And I think the crucial play that he did was forcing out Flande on the Kennen earlier on. Got his flash, got his proto belt, instantly went into the Baron mode, and that opened up so many opportunities for JD Gaming. They didn't have to worry about the flank anymore. You don't have that ability when you're coming in and you're essentially walking into the team composition. So great play on his part, and the poke damage was just not something that LNG could do.
The poke was insane, and for JDG, and it goes back to that, like, all right, we can play the 1-3-1, but also if we group, it's versatile, it plays around JDG styles, and people like Yagao and Zoom. Like, it was a good game from Zoom as well, to be fair. You know, the Victor stabilized and we got to the late game and the Victor was doing huge chunks.
Yeah, that was half health Plex every time he got the chance. And Victor is one of those champions that I feel is quite crucial in the meta right now. He outranges the Kennen, outranges the Nico, so we've seen good lane matchups in both of them, and for the most part, top lane has become almost like a mage sanctuary.
At least tonight, it definitely has. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna see a lot more of Victor. He's a slow scaling champion, but I think he has a very definitive role, and in the meta, you're gonna see him win out in a lot of lanes, and you're also gonna see him scale towards the late game. His damage was crucial in stabilizing the comp.
Yeah, it really was. So at this point, you go into game 3 and you say, look, there's been drafts that you can appreciate from both sides. I think for LNG, draft was fine there. You know, it seemed fine. There were conditions. No, what would you like to change, Mr. Clement?
Oh, God, I'm going to be so upset if LNG ever get a red side and just go like, you know what, I'm not going to counter pick this lane. I'm just not going to do it.
Just draft 3 losing lanes.
That's never a winning strategy. That never feels good. You know?
No, it's usually not a winning strategy, no.
Yeah, it's...
But they played the early game so well.
The problem is, when you play with comps, it's not always about the scaling. Like, there are champions who are generally stronger in the late game than there are in the early mid game. A lot of times it's how comps interact with each other. Yeah. And they didn't have a comp that interacted with them. They just poked, and they were like, well, we can flank, but we're not in position enough. It's very difficult to engage on an enemy that's that far away from you. Yeah. So it's always putting yourself down a notch, and I feel like Snake and LNG has always been a team that clings on to their individuality and goes like, we're gonna play what's cool rather than what's kind of like works.
Yeah, which is funny because in a way JDG cling on to their individuality as well, but it's like a partnership duo in a way. It's almost with Zoom and Yagao, and I guess, you know, with Flaws coming into it as well. They have their own brand, their own style, but it all intertwines. And the difference here is that for LNG, we haven't seen how that intertwines. We haven't seen how Plex fits in with this roster. Only a couple of games to say that, you know, game 1, wow, no communication issues. Game 2, oh, there's communication issues. Game 3, maybe a little, who knows? There's a lot more we have to delve into with someone like Plex, but so far I can see this. I can't see the ceiling.
He did very well in the laning phase, though. Yeah. I think that's something we have to note, that throughout both of these laning phases, he has shown us the correct estimations.
It works out.
Huh?
Sorry. just Imp flex his muscles. Go
He
on.
was never behind like 10 CS against Yagao on the Jace in the mid lane. So I think that's something that, frankly, LNG are happy to accept, even though language barriers were there. To be honest, they were there when Mala was on the team as well.
Let's compare, because when the barriers were there with someone like Mala, I mean, even
Mala
Andy,
was a Korean import as well. So
I mean, Andy wasn't an import.
Issue.
Andy came up from LDL from memory. There were issues there because Andy, you know, wasn't about communication. It was about the skill level. The mid laners before, even Fen. I'd say that so far, there's more reliability on Plex.
It does seem like we've only have a 2-game sample, but that's the way it does feel like so far. Now, we just got word that LNG will be swapping over to the blue side this time. I want to see if they can change their first pick priority. We did see the Silas for them in Game 1.
Yeah.
I do want to wonder where that Olaf actually is, and if we finally get an entire series without Olaf.
We lost our 100%, Clement. Kind of upset because the Olaf is just so good at the moment. But no pick priority between, I thought Flawless would play, but most of all, I thought SofM would make his return to it.
SofM played Olaf even when it was off meta.
Yeah.
So that's something that I didn't really expect coming into it. And it also fits his style a lot because Olaf actually farms for his leads.
True.
He's more of the SofM style where he's trying to power himself up in the early game.
SofM's changing, but not where it matters. No, but in all seriousness, SofM has been more gank heavy than we've seen him in the past. But Game 3 is going to decide everything here. And for LNG, is it truly the run, or is it the same start as Snake in Spring, where they pull off that first win, you say Snake's changed, and then Nigeria gets upset because the rest of the 2 games go to the enemy. Let's get into it.
First time that we're actually going to see Aurelia opened up in the drafting phase.
Olaf banned. They knew what was happening.
Interesting. So it looks like SofM still does not want to go for the Olaf. If you take the Olaf away, I think Silas is a tremendous first pick.
All right, where does the Silas go, though, Clement? Because the Aurelia undoubtedly looks to be the lock-in here straight away for JDG, and the Nautilus follows suit. So Lumao's going to rinse and repeat. But Yagao's Aurelia, not too shabby, if I may say.
Yep. It does fit his style, roaming around, getting those kills, and it's also a flex pick between him and Zoom, so it could go either ways. However, just in the laning phase purely, we will see Silas get a little bit of edge if it does come to the mid lane matchup. Does have the auto attack reset and all of those ranged abilities that can really chunk down on her.
Also, Vanguard's Edge for Vanguard's Edge is always fun. You don't know what's going on. There's just blades all over.
Marks everywhere.
You can make a diamond if you coordinate it nicely enough. LNG, a couple of flex still open. Remember the Rise that we saw before? That's still there if LNG want to snag it away, but what does Plex actually play? Because he's the Aurelia player. He's the, mid lane carry. SofM's picked up the Rek'Sai. We might get a better idea of where this Silas is actually going here in this Game 3. The next pick. No, we won't. Because Asura onto the Sivir. Now, this I feel like is a first.
This is a good move from them because it's a strong takeaway from Imp. It also gives them late game initiation potential. So JD Gaming can't run away with the same composition if they do go for a poke comp, which they're not likely going to do with this composition. I like that idea, and I've always wanted to see Asura on something that does have priority in lane. A lot of times you see him defaulting to hyper carry to stabilize the damage sources on LNG.
Wow. First Sejuani of the split. You see what those characters mean? I can tell you. 0 data. Is that close?
It's the most played in the LCS currently. But no one has played it from the LPL.
Yeah, really. Like, we've been on Olaf, Jarvan. This does not suit the playstyle of the LPL, but in this game, it will have to. Flaws on the Sejuani.
So I will say that Sejuani does have great synergy with the Aurelia. The Blade Surge does act as a melee auto attack.
And Nautilus, by the way. But you're not going anywhere with these 3 picks already locked in.
You've got the auto attack with Titan's Rage, Titan's Wrath as well. So that's a lot of lockdown. I can see why the Sejuani is selected right here. Great early game ganking potential. Is combo heavy, but does work. And Duan's going to have to play something new. We see the Morgana already taken away. That's the traditional counter towards the Nautilus.
Remember that for someone like Duan in the past, he's been defensive in 2018, I'll say. I remember Caveman, who is now Duan, A lot of the Tahm Kench we saw, the defensive options in the bottom lane, so champion pool doesn't end there. Imp, however, the Kai'Sa locked in for game 3. His most played champion in spring.
Oh, this is an interesting one. Now, JD Gaming are a very different team when they play with without priority in the bottom lane. Flawless is going to have to look for a lot more power into his solo lanes, and it's always been a bit dicey for JD Gaming. I feel like their most successful track has usually been with something like Sivir and Kalista, something that's naturally strong just because of the picks in the bottom side.
Yeah.
But this lane will have to get some help.
All right, but first of all, when you go up into the Brom, when you go up into the Sivir, yeah, you're right, needs help. Look at the Nico that's made it all the way through here. We still don't know which lane that's going into, but Zoom might just have the exact same response. Go for the mage in the top lane. Make sure that you're going to negate pretty much any of those two. And Yagao will be on the Aurelia, so here we go. Well, hang on, again, we still got to wait, but that's the assumption.
Yep, if they should put the Victor in the top side just against the Nico. That's a more favorable matchup.
Yeah.
And for LNG, I would not put my Silas top lane. The chances for him to just get completely blown up by Blade Surge and Sejuani is a little bit too high, so I think these will be the lanes they finally do settle on.
That's an Ignite Silas as well.
I think it's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
If you're going with the Rek'Sai, it's a kill lane, and against Aurelia, it's actually quite easy to accomplish.
I see any Ignite in the mid lane, I go, oh, kill lane. You know, you put an Urgot mid, actually, that's disgusting.
Well, it's more about the jungle mid combination in my view, but
true.
You're somewhat right.
I mean, let's look a little bit deeper into that, because with the Sejuani, the debut of the LPL, I can't believe I'm actually saying that in a meta, but this seems to be a pick that JDG can really rally behind. I mean, there's so many possibilities, easy to stack up there on the, not concussive blows, what do you call it? The permafrost, of course. And you're going up against an ice composition as well. So you got Brom versus Sejuani, and the Freljord will not be happy about that one.
Yeah, I think Sejuani provides the lost art of frontlining towards the LPL.
Yeah,
it's very rare where we actually see a good tank survive anymore.
Yeah.
I think Sejuani makes sense because a lot of times someone has to tank those Sivir auto attacks. You can walk in front of the crowd, just eat those boomerangs, and then you have a better engage if you have that Sivir in place.
It's very true, Clement.
There's no tanks in the top side, make me a little bit sad. I do kind of miss tanks, because...
Do you? You are the only person I've ever heard say that.
No, because tanks are very important in certain matchups. They allow you to walk through terrain, so they actually break stalemates a lot of times.
Okay, well, I don't miss tanks. I like seeing mages in the top lane. And I like seeing Flande on the Nico. And Zoom back onto the Victor once again. But let's get into it. Game 3. LNG and JDG. It's good that JDG have some fire, but now they need to throw it on top of LNG, burn them alive. Otherwise, LNG, they're going swimming. I don't know where I'm going with this analogy, but it's game 3 all the same.
JD Gaming really don't want to start off with a 0-2 to the summer split. They've had such a good amount of growth through the playoffs, and if they cannot continue that momentum, it just feels so bad. It feels like a story where there's a sudden turn, and the ending doesn't happen as much as you like it would, want it to.
You mean like Shrek?
I think the ending was fine for Shrek, but I didn't watch the later episodes.
I don't think they dealt with Lord Farquaad enough. Wait, what did they do to him in the end?
I think they fed him to a dragon.
Oh, yeah, they did. Sorry, I take that back. Not Shrek. Shrek 2. But anyway, look, it is, you know, it's getting late. I'm enjoying life a little bit, so I'm going to simmer down. Asura, it's a double heal lane. Not often that we do not see teleport taken for both, indicating that my guess, as the Colonel has just given it to JDG all the way, is that Imp will be going for the normal Storm Roses.
Yep, he does press the attack down. A lot of times it does come down to like what items you have. If you have an early kill, the tier might be better.
Sure.
But for most of the time, we are still seeing the main build. Just feed the Storm Raiders into a faster 2 evolution.
Early upgrade, of course, and like you said, yeah, all about the evolutions. Plex has the early shove in this mid lane here, but let's take a look at those runes, because you're going fleet footwork on the Sivir, just scaling your way out, and Flande is going back to the Glacial Augment with the Nico in the top lane.
So Fleet Footwork is an interesting one. It basically means you're weaker in full-on engages, but much better in overtime trades. So I think that's what how LNG is going to look to play this out. Just get priority and slowly chip away at JD Gaming's bot.
And you'll see as well that for JDG, going for that press the attack bottom, you got Conqueror mid, and you also got Aftershock in the jungle, but Zoom is the biggest one to take away. An Airy in the top lane. Seen a lot of comment on the Victor, but Airy being the safer choice as SofM starts positioning around the mid lane. Clement, while we have a bit of a lull and while the invade comes through from SofM, walk me through a little bit more about the Snake composition now, because it seems similar to what we've seen in Game 1.
Well, first off, I think Flande is going to die here.
You're not going to get time. I'm going to ask you the same question when we come back here, because Flande will not get away from this Arctic Assault, the flash over the wall. Maybe he will. Don't let me tell you never. No burnt flash there from Flawless, but Flande without a summoner.
And this is going to open up SofM to a massive territory on the map. Look at how much control he has. He's going to go back towards the scuttle and towards the top side. Yep. So even though that was the flash burned away from Flande, I actually think it's quite worth it for his jungle. Yeah. Flawless is pinging towards the other blue. He does see it.
Because the mid lane's pushing up so aggressively, it will be pretty dangerous to get there. You can see that SofM and Plex are moving over towards Flawless.
This is going to be tough if Flawless gets found here. There's no priority in the mid lane.
Where can Yagao go? Onto Plex. Flawless going to take the 1v1, but here comes the Rek'Sai. SofM forces the flash out of Flawless, runs away with the Arctic Assault. Plex flashes on as well. He thinks he can take it with the Ignite. Almost does. The Prey Seeker from SofM. He's not going to get it. Flawless just runs away. Plex aggressive there in the 2-on-2.
That was actually fairly close. If SofM had another Q, they could have locked down the kill, but anyways, I don't understand that Flawless move. You saw Yagao, he was already in his backing phase, so there was going to be no help on his side, and with that being taken away, he cedes so much of the jungle over to Rek'Sai.
He really does. There's already a big lead here, and SofM is in a great position to gank Zoom. No ward just there. There is a ping going down, assuming though. And the bottom lane even moves here as well. Thank you for the Boomerang Blade. Flawless almost dies. He has to smite, secure, leave. This is a rough start for the Sejuani jungle.
And what might happen in the next few minutes with Rek'Sai getting this sizable lead is Rek'Sai could actually start hunting down Flawless in the next rotation towards the bottom. Yep. Like, he has his lane set up to do that. He's going to have a CS lead here. He still has that top side completely untouched, so he can go back there and just take that camp as well.
It's just such a good start for what has been the best jungler of this series by far. And Lil Mal's even roaming already. Look at him. This man is on a mission. What is a lane for Lil Mal, honestly?
There is no laning phase. Early game and middle game look exactly the same for JD Gaming. People running around everywhere.
And Lil Mal is on the hunt for SofM. A good ward to spot him out. And this is what's going to be the saving grace of Flawless, it seems. Clement, I want to ask you a question, but I don't know if I'm going to have to save it. No, I'm going to ask. Walk me through LNG's composition. Let's talk about this late game and the pressure it can provide, and what is the stopping force from JDG?
So the way LNG have structured their comp, they just want to have a good lead from start to finish. They have good engages. If they have good leads in the mid lane and in the bot lane, they should have priority. They should be able to chip towers. And that mid-game phase, they're going to be very powerful. Silas can just jump in with an engage. He has a depth charge to steal along with On the Hunt. They should be able to find fights around the objectives and just snowball and close. On the other hand, JD Gaming, this time they have more of the scaling advantage. The Victor is going to do well in keeping his distance. The Kaisa always have good damage there as well. So I feel like JD Gaming, they're more focused towards the late. They're more focused towards the team fighting aspects of this composition. While LNG, I like this change of flavor. They are going to be going on the more aggressive route. Yeah.
As you can see already that SofM on that note has been setting up that top lane. There's already a 13 CS margin, make it about 15 here for Flande. As back timing is going to be important for Zoom. He has a teleport, but has to pace it accordingly. Flawless going to get spotted out by a ward in the brush here. LNG are making the move. Arctic Assault, you need to get out of there. Plex is level 6 with the Vanguard's edge, but can't be slowed down just yet. Flawless makes it away as 4 members converge on his position.
And it's going to be so dangerous for Flawless to ever walk up on that quadrant of the map. You can see that no priority there. He almost dies. If Plex was there just a little bit faster, he could have just closed out on the kill, of course. And the top side should go to SofM after this as well.
Plex has the lead in his lane. He can make that roam comfortably. Flande still getting the poke out here from Zoom, even though it's starting to turn back in favor of the victor. And I was just mentioning Yagao there before. Since he's getting pushed into the mid lane, look at what SofM's able to achieve. Another deep control ward means the red buff, means timing on his side. Still, SofM has not gone to his blue. It's still there, Clement.
The SofM special. You just hold your blue so long that your mid laner can then take it up. He often does this. He was actually the pioneer of this type of a strategy where you don't touch your buffs until you actually need it. So SofM is also very well known for delaying red buff takes. He doesn't take red buffs until he actually feels like he needs to gank for a lane. And you need a lot of foresight to play that style, because if the enemy has red buff and he finds you, you're kind of in a bad situation. That is what he's known for.
It also takes away the timers from the enemies. You know, you think you know when the buff's going to spawn. You think you know when the buff is there in SofM. Delaying it just must be the most annoying thing for Flawless to deal with. Right now, you're like, okay, cool, my blue's up. He's going to be at his red. He's going to be where he started. SofM instead goes to the Ocean Dragon, delaying that timer even more. An Ocean Dragon for a team that we talked about the mid-game, Clement. Once again, looking good here for LNG to start things off.
Yep, strong early start. The lanes are going to be good. This is especially helpful for the top lane.
Yeah.
Where the trades are happening, you know, every once in a while. So if you get out of combat time, the Ocean Drake helps you a lot. And if you look at the CS once more, because of SofM was on the top red side, Zoom had to play very safe. Couldn't walk up to the minion wave. Now he's quite far behind.
I mean, the same catalyst effect here for Yagao, for Imp as well. All lanes ahead for LNG. And it continues to grow. You can see the gold lead is because of that effect. And 1,200 in the lead for LNG at 9 minutes. As they picked up that Ocean Dragon before, you know, folks, I'm just such a lover of Ocean Dragon in the first 20 minutes. I think it's fantastic. I think it's one of the best dragons just in the game, period. So, Plex is here. He'll start healing up, but for JDG,
look at Zoom.
Lumao is nearby. Floor's coming in as well. Where is the prison? They're just going to leave Yagao. He's dead. Teleport coming through as well. That's Flande, but Zoom has to flash away as he just come on in. They turn for the engage as the prison's there, but they jump down with the Pop Blossom again. Lumao gets stunned on his way out as Zoom has done so much with that Chaos Storm. Almost gets popped out himself, but a trade for JDG is better than no trade at all.
Yeah, that was actually quite favorable for JD Gaming at the start. I don't feel like SofM needed to engage back in there. So what JD Gaming were doing is that they were using their roam potential to get back into the game after all three lanes were behind. They actually moved Zoom all the way down from the top side to the mid lane. A very smart roam on that end. However, if you look at the start of this is a 4v3. Unfortunately for Yagao, the burst damage was just way too high. JD Gaming really miscalculated the amount of damage that LNG could put out. And SofM, this was not necessary. Like that auto attack on Flawless was, I'm not sure what he was doing. that was clearly a mistake from me, from my point of view. But also JD Gaming miscalculated a little bit. They knew that SofM was right there. They just didn't think that Yagao would die that soon.
For LNG though, it doesn't matter if SofM went down, because all the same, they found themselves ahead after that play. 2k gold now is their advantage, and first blood went over to Plex. So the mid-game styles well and truly in a good position. That CS advantage is still there. Proto Belt in hand. And Plex this time, it's not like game one, Clement, where he's 0-0-3 at like 40 minutes in the game. This time he gets first blood. This time he gets the attention from his jungler.
And we really need to pay attention at how Plex actually roams with SofM. So far we haven't really seen them being a duo outside of that first flash taken away from Flawless. So I want to see how well he can coordinate right here.
Going to rely around this Rift Herald because Flawless looks to challenge it with a ward dropped on down. Flande's here as well, and Zoom is going to start walking here, but is it going to be too late for JDG? Maybe the kill instead, because Flawless has gone by undetected. The Glacial Prison's there again. Plex has to flash away. Abscond of Duck. Proto Belt to Duan just to protect his mid laner. A lot used from JDG while the Rift Herald continues on, and Flawless might want to Arctic Assault, but he can't steal it away. Instead, can they stop LNG from picking up the eye?
That's the big question right here. And Ruma already with the boots of mobility, his playstyle, but they don't see the enemy.
SofM jumps on in again. A big mistake from the jungler. The Chaos Storm comes down. Pop Blossom lands onto one, and Lumao is so squishy at this stage while Duan and Plex are into the middle. They find themselves with the permafrost, and JDG get two big picks. The eye has still not been picked up.
This is just better target focus coming in from JD Gaming. Yagao cutting into the back line while LNG are hitting on the tanks. SofM once again goes in to the enemy squad. I don't think that was very well synced with the right side of the flank, so they don't actually manage to get any of those stuns on with the Braum concussive blows and just fall down one by one.
That's the way the Hobbit, or rather Lord of the Rings, would have ended. One movie, you sit there, the eye's gone, and Sauron's just defeated. It's simple. I'll take a look at this again because it was the protection of this set eye that started the fight.
It's a strong 4v4, but SofM gets stunned, CC chained, instantly falls down, and look at the target focus here. They do trade back the support, but the AoE damage from Zoom, just too much. Yagao's almost full health, and they just get 2 for 1, deny the scuttles. A great play here from JD Gaming.
So evenly spread as well, Clement. 3 kills, 3 different members of JDG. Much needed for Yagao, much needed for Zoom. You know, kill. What about 20? What about 20 CS, Clement?
Yeah,
15, 20 CS in this economy. Yeah, you know, Zoom able to pick up a Hex Core upgrade as well after that first back. Already had the double Thorin, so this is good news for the Victor top, who should be able to stay in lane just that little bit easier. Flande, especially since he's got the hose as his first item.
And if I have to comment on LNG's game strategy so far, I don't think it was that successful. Only 2 turret platings being taken down.
Hold that thought, Clement, because it's not over just yet. Talk about success. Permafrost comes in here with SofM. The Void Rush is on top of floors. They find him first. It's Plex, but Zoom TP'd into his death. Now, who's successful here?
Yeah, really don't want to fight when bot lane has priority on LNG's side. So JD Gaming with a questionable teleport, and this is going to cost them so damn much. Top lane dead. No one's defending that wave. No teleport. So that's 2 waves that Zoom is not going to be able to pick up.
And a Mountain Dragon. That's rough.
It is very rough. There's that was a desynchronization from JD Gaming's top side of the map and the bottom side of the map. The bottom side, there was no way they were going to arrive there on time.
0 turret plating in Imp. That's a boomerang blade from down under. Let me tell you one thing. I've seen a boomerang, and that's the one that you don't want to come back. Only 160 gold from the turret plating, but you can see that Asura, with the Essence Reaver, is starting to pump out some of this damage. So although there's no turret plating left and available as it expires, LNG, their bottom lane, are getting to the point where they can force them out. But Flaw's face checks here into SofM.
Yeah, this was a weird engage from Flawless's part. If you look at their bot lane, they're scrambling to get onto the scene, but there's no way they could get there. And that just feels like to me that there were some communication mistakes there. The bot lane, like, clearly was not in place to help. Flawless should not have contested that ward, and they pay for it.
Which for JDG is quite uncommon. You know, the communication we've said in the past has been quite prime, especially in the spring regular split. Flawless right now, he has to be so careful. He's spotted out the side of LNG and Duan and SofM. Lumao's there. He wants to flash. You can see that Nautilus wants to flash as the Glacial Fisher misses there from Plex, prison rather. And Lumao is now walked on over instead of flashing over the wall.
Oh, this is what I love about the LPL. There might be people just laning peacefully, you think nothing's happening, and then the whole world is there.
Yeah.
8 members actually hiding between those walls.
And you're like, how many people are actually here? Everyone's here, Clement. Look, Kai'Sa, Imp, get here. Party's in the river.
Kai'Sa can always come. She's got killer instinct. No problem there.
That's a long walk to the mid lane. JDG have grouped up as 5 though. There's no dragon, only fresh blood. Lumao is hungry, but SofM is gone. So that'll be that. JDG can go back to their respective lanes after realizing no one else is here.
Want to see how Plex actually starts to play out the side lanes later on. He does have the lead to do so. 3-1-1. Already participated in all the kills on LNG. Yeah, it does work quite well with priority. So that's one of our questions solved.
Yeah. Again, mid-game Clement looking pretty good here for LNG. Still a massive gold lead. In fact, it's grown just that little bit last time that we checked. 4K gold lead here for LNG. It's 17 minutes in the game, so game plan online. And it's only going to get better from here. There's a Trinity Force picked up from Yagao, yes, but Plex is on towards his second item, which looks like it could be a Zhonya's Hourglass with the Fiendish Codex. So wait and see, folks, because those 2 items are going to look, again, better for LNG. And Asura, that's a BF sword already in hand. You know what that means. That turret goes down, that gold goes to him. Looks like we're seeing 2 items Sivir very soon.
Main problem right here is JD Gaming might need to swap over FLICKR towards the mid lane. They don't have wave clear anywhere else that is able to match the Sivir. But if Zoom stays mid lane even further, the rest of his lanes don't actually do that well in the side lanes.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough situation for JD Gaming to figure out where their lane allocations is going to be. It seems like for now they will still keep the Kai'Sa around mid lane, Yagao around mid lane, no one's in the bot lane. So they're going to have to juggle these lane aggros. This gives LNG a lot of opportunities.
You got so much space across the map.
Yeah, if they can correctly synchronize their waves, they will find very good openings into the mid.
Have to be careful because for LNG, smarter, faster rotations here. Means that mid lane turret could break down. This is the last outer turret standing for JDG. And if this mid turret breaks, I mean, what's worse than a mid game where you have no control around mid, where it's one of the longest lanes? That means Leaning will just have that much more control and deeper vision towards the red and blue side. Baron becomes a bigger threat. For JDG, they cannot afford that threat at 20-25 minutes.
All right, so when you see the pings coming out from LNG, the way they want to do this is they want to split up JD Gaming so they have to deal with both sideways at the same time, and then they can group for mid.
Or you can just be Lumao and look for a hook.
That's a smart strategy. Top lane's showing itself. Definitely a way to go. So I want to see if LNG can synchronize these waves and force JD Gaming to defend multiple points at the same time. They have full vision of where Yagao is. It should not be that difficult to set up.
Zoom doesn't have TP as well, and LNG know this, so Lumao roaming around, be careful, pick potential still there, very likely from LNG. Zoom's now been spotted in the top lane, and LNG start roaming through the river, start looking for the invade. With Plex on the Silas coming up as well, and who has a depth charge as his ultimate at the moment. And 2 items, by the way, with that Yagao finally picked up. LNG really looking for this fight, waiting for JDG to step forward.
Not the best of synchronizations, I have to say. LNG, what they wanted to do, get the silence with the same time as their mid lane push. Didn't really happen. JD Gaming are able to group here, and this is very risky for both teams.
See what can be found from JDG, because it's 5 versus 4 for now. Zoom's not in the fight just yet, but LNG walking towards them in the mid lane. That's a 2-man stun lockdown. Here comes the depth charge. Immediately Pop Blossom comes down, but it's only onto 1 for JDG. They're going to get flanked by SofM, and it's into the backline. Imp needs to survive here, but it's already a double kill for Zoom. And LNG try to recover the fight, but Zoom has picked up a triple kill. Let's give him a little bit more, Clement. Plex survived for now, but a quadra kill on a Victor, no doubt. Let's give him the pentakill. Zoom has no mana, but JDG, yeah, thumbs up. Help him, man. Help him. Flande, 1, 2, and 3 takes Lumao. Zoom wants the pentakill. Can he find it? 7 seconds. 6, 5. No, there's a prom up as well. He won't get it, but it's good enough for JDG just to walk away with 4.
Oh, and that was so close. Masterful play from Zoom. Smart time to engage. JD Gaming have a great front line. They have a great 5v5 composition. And LNG, it really did come down to wave management throughout that entire fight. They let JD Gaming get into this position while having full control of the side lanes. And smart idea on Lumao. Great target selection. They get Sivir down before she does any damage whatsoever. And once again, Flande can't really find enough targets on the Pop Blossom. So this fight was really over before it even began. Flande then trying to save the situation. Zoom already with 3 kills. Finds his 4th. That's lights out for LNG.
I tell you what though, Yagao's ulti into 4 people. The Aurelia, there's just so many elements that came together. Flande will get the return kill in the end, but now Zoom has 5 kills, Clement. He got a Luden's Echo. Let's go. You want to hear, this is Russian Victor. This is Victor Reznov, 5, 1, and 2. This man, albeit, you know, he's not fake this time. This guy means business.
Damn, and you just can't let JD Gaming with those opportunities. It feels so bad because LNG did have control over those waves. They could sync up. If they did it the right way, they should have been able to choke down the mid turret. They should have been able to go over to the Drake. Instead, JD Gaming clear out the waves and then group up, and they still had enough time to find the team fight. Yeah. So, unfortunate, but it is those small things, those timing windows, those moments where you can communicate with the rest of your team members and try to find synchronized opportunities. If you can't do that, then 5v5 comps just become so much stronger.
It's part of the synchronizing, Clement. Asura has to pop on the hunt. That's an escape needed from the 80 carry Sivir, but Imp starting to pop out some of that damage. Guinsu's Rage Blade, albeit nerfed, still a big item here for the 2-item Kai'Sa.
I'm actually quite surprised that LNG still have a gold lead after that fight.
Yeah.
It's a 4 for 2.
I mean, they had a 4K gold lead before. They were in the spirit of things, I should say. For LNG doesn't mean this fight is going to be any worse or better for that matter. JDG waiting over the wall. They don't have their full force here. Yagao, remember, took Ignite, and Zoom is not nearby. Not optimal for JDG if they get caught. Or if they catch you up. Maybe it's SofM has been caught out. They've got some specs onto where Asura is, but here we go. It's fake Asura. He jumps down. That's a pop blossom again. Imp has the killer instinct backline, but he's been deleted. Now it's for Floors and Yagao, but Yagao is on a slither of health. Zoom is still there. He's picked up a double yet again. Floors is trying to escape out of the back of this pit, but look at this. Zoom has the range. Dodging away from the Boomerang Blade, he can't. Plex takes a Q to the face, and Baron helps out. But JDG don't come ahead in that fight.
3 for 2 in that instance, and it was a really good abduct there by Plex to stop Sejuani from getting over the wall. Actually stops her Q from going the full distance and does find them that 1 kill back. Watching in the situation, again, I think the problem here is that Sivir, even though she's about the same distance as the Victor, does have the extra movement speed, and also Flande with a great opening. Imp gets 3 auto attacks off and instantly dies from the team fight. Yagao, great W to save his life from that start.
Oh, but we just started the Baron, Clement, and while Pop Blossom was big, and while Zoom is even bigger, now it comes down to the Baron. SofM gets burnt down, but at 1,500 health, it looks like it is secured by LNG. Zoom caught out in the middle of everything. Chaos Storm comes down. He dodged away from the ulti. Zoom's ulti just hits 4 members, but he gets popped down by the Nico. Big shutdown there onto the top lane of Flande with Baron buff in hand.
That was so smart from LNG. They used the teleport to instantly get back into the fight and steal away the Baron. So, both teams, whoever gets the early game advantage has been able to snowball quite correctly.
Yeah. You consider at this point, though, thank you, Mr. Harbin, that this game is slowly falling out of reach for JDG. 5k gold lead, now the Baron buff. How much damage can they do with this? Because that mid lane turret that I talked about for composition that has a strong mid game like LNG, Clement, it's going to be dropping down with this next push.
Yeah, mid-game tower is so important for LNG to opening up the map and just running people down with their composition. JD Gaming, they still have to deal with side waves. I don't think they can defend at this point. Their members are pretty much late to the party. They're going to have to let this one go, and LNG can decide which way to go after this
Colonel one. Really just hitting the high waves there. Strong belief in LNG. They've got the gold lead. They've got a composition that can make it. And now the bottom lane turret looks to be next, with mid getting pushed out, with JDG seemingly trying to find a pick.
I think JDG, they still have a comp that can come out ahead of the team fights. It's just about getting their members there on time.
Yeah.
So LNG, you know, they mismanaged the waves once. I want to see if this time they can finally sync up all they want to do correctly. Don't give JD Gaming any chances.
Seem like they will do that, Clement. There's 4 members mid with the Baron buff, and JDG struggling hard to defend this. While the slow comes through, Flande poking forward. Zoom eventually joins them, but here comes Yagao with the ultimate into the middle. Flande pops on down with the Blossom. Imp, Killer Instinct in there as well. But look at Zoom. He's in the back of the fight. He Chaos Storms down, and Flande just has to escape. He's done his due diligence in this fight. Yagao lives somehow for that long, and Zoom at full health now needs to carry the fight because everyone else is dead. Plex picks up a quadra kill. Can he get it, Clement? Let's find out. Zoom was denied his. Survive, no! SofM, you bully. It's okay though, because another quadra and the ace, and I think LNG have done it.
JD Gaming had such a good start to the fight, instantly focusing down onto Asura, but Flande and Plex managed to stay alive with a sliver of health. This just might be the end right here. Imp still has 10 seconds on. It's going to be very close.
I can't believe LNG are doing it. 5 seconds on Imp, Clement, but I think that's it. 2, 1, no. They're not going to end. They're not going to try. they're going to wait for the next push.
Slow and steady are the key words for LNG. They've actually played out with a lot of patience. I can't believe this team is a new squadron that they put together. Now, first of all, let's look at JD Gaming's start to the fight. This was a very intelligent start. They knew that they could box out LNG from the right side. Imp instantly flies in, and they take down Asura first. It looks good, but watch Plex. Finishes off the carries. Yagao's low health. Flande managed to sliver away, and Rek'Sai is wrecking havoc on the side. Able to take a lot of damage and deal back as well. So Plex gets the quadra finish. And last one, oh, I can't believe you missed the E. If you got
that's
the
the
E,
second
that's
pentakill that has been denied, and SofM is the one to finish it off. He had to.
Close enough, close enough.
9, 2, and 5 on this Silas Mid, Clement. 4 items picked up for Plex. What an entrance to the LPL. Game 3, big ass Silas here for the rookie over from Griffin.
5,000 damage in that one team fight. And that just makes me excited for all the different Griffin players that are coming out of the LCK.
Where's Kanavi? Where are JDG pulling Kanavi from? Of course, if you haven't heard the news, JDG sub-jungler, Kanavi over on loan from Griffin as well.
So LNG are in full control right now. Almost 10k gold lead with the Baron popping up soon. JD Gaming, they need to find one of those team fights again, but this time I think Imp needs to be a little bit more careful. In that situation, I'm not sure if it was the smartest idea to fight, to just trade backsides like that.
Maybe not.
The front side from LNG is also very powerful. They should have the range advantage in these, at least with the Victor. So they'll be fine until the Baron.
That's 3-item Victor. So remember that Zoom close to that level 16 mark. But all they need from LNG is a Baron. Get the push going in again. And it should be okay. JDG, never underestimate a good Vanguard's Edge, a good Chaos Storm, a good Glacial Prison, even the Killer Instinct, the Depth Charge. Just named all 5 ultimates for you.
Doesn't have the disarm anymore, but makes it much easier to chase down onto targets, and that's what JD Gaming has been trying.
Yeah, and does a lot of damage as well. Gal hit that level 16 mark, so the maximum level of the ultimate. You can see LNG still waiting for this Baron, which should be spawning underneath a minute. I'll forget about the Dragon, because for JDG, just getting this mid-wave cleared, keeping them off the inhibitor turrets otherwise. And LNG have got full control. This is going to require such a miracle fight, or even a miracle still if it comes to that.
That's well timed from both teams, getting their backs before the Baron actually comes in. The question for JD Gaming is how are they actually going to crack through all of these warding positions? Flawless is going to have to be point man on this one, and that's where you see tanks become very valuable.
He just walked blind through that brush as well. So precarious as even Flande gets the angle onto Lumao. They don't know if that's him. They're like, hang on. But it's not. It's fake. Lumao is there, slowed on down with the Winter's Bite. Looks like the fight's going to start now. Clement Plex dodges away from the dredge line. Flande comes in. 2-man route there as well. The Chaos Storm onto 1. Flande drops on down with the Pop Blossom. Onto 2. It might be enough as the prison comes through as well. Yagao slowed into Golden. Plex in himself. Zoom and Impa out. This is not good. Yagao needs a survival. The game could be over there. They lose Lumao anyway. It's a 4 versus 5 as Baron is now up.
Just way too hard to do. I love what LNG did right there. They read JD Gaming like a book. The classical way to avoid stepping into your own red side jungle is to push mid.
Yeah.
Push mid, and then you have the river side. So LNG read JD Gaming's pathing. They are right around the corner waiting for them. And there's no getting away from on the hunt plus depth charge.
The Baron over to LNG, Clement. They are continuing to read JDG. 10k gold lead. And this game could have been over moments ago, but safety was there from LNG, and they could have potentially thrown it all away. Very calm, concise. Did Snake know how to close out games, Clement? Well, sometimes no. But LNG, we'll see.
Yes.
It looks like yes. It looks like it's a definite yes.
Yeah,
looks like it's a new summer.
That was a very smart play from LNG. Like, you could see JD Gaming, the way they were doing it was that they were showing Flawless inside the red side jungle, and then the other 4-man were trying to go through mid. But LNG read it. They were waiting and had the exact response for it.
Now for LNG, they want to put the closing gap into it. Vanguard's Edge is there. Lumao just gets disintegrated. That's the start for LNG to end this game and end this series as Flande gets the slow one down. The Plague comes back out and the Chaos Storm as well. The AoE's there. Flande drops on down. Yagao is still alive. The Aurelia is there.
Zoom.
This is the return. Imp lives too for Zoom and Yagao. That's a triple onto the Aurelia. Let's go. Another near B pentakill as Yagao into the GA. He will drop. SofM has one himself, but he's slowed on down. The Chaos Storm stolen from Zoom. Plex looking to carry this game. He doesn't find the stun down, nor the flawless duet from Yagao. LNG close to losing it all, and so were JDG.
And that was absolutely insane team fighting for JD Gaming. The two-man on the bottom side of the flank in the dumpling duos. Yagao and Zoom save it. They wipe out the entire backline of LNG. And LNG tried to chase down Imp. They couldn't find him in that situation. The turret was still full health. So maybe a little bit of a greedy engage to start things off. But I really want to keep my eyes on how Yagao and Zoom were able to clear out the members from LNG on the bot side. You see Yagao with a double blade surge straight onto Asura. Tags him with the ultimate as well. So 3 charges in a row to take down the Sivir. And then Flande finds himself defenseless in the face of Aurelia. Such a good clear from them to equalize that team fight. Remember, they're almost 10k down here, and they're still able to fight on even footing.
Sterex Gauge, pretty insane when you look at it. The mid lane's starting to shape up nicely for JDG. What a time to do so. That Baron's going to expire as well. So let's not forget that for JDG, we talked about scaling at the start of the game, coming into fruition no matter how far behind they are.
That was just so insane. JD Gaming, like the dumpling duo, never fails, never disappoints, basically. Always looking for the right ways to fight these. And LNG, yep. I feel like they're a little bit desynchronized. They don't have a great track record of playing around their AD carry.
Let's find out, Clement, because this is going to take everything. Coordination, everything. As the glacial precision lands again onto Flande. Great Vanguard's Edge in the middle. Chaos Storm's there. Everyone gets popped up. It's Imp who gets set up with a death charge, but Lumao is still alive, able to peel for the front line as Imp is free firing here, but LNG found one. They found 2. SofM full health, so is Plex. Here we go, Killer Instinct, but he can't find the hit. It's 3 versus 5. That could be enough for LNG.
So much damage being dealt, but it's a 4v3. JD Gaming still have their main AD carries. They have to wave clear.
Might not have the 5, but that could just be it. Imp gets destroyed, and Zoom and Lumao have no hope in the world. Lumao back to base, but he won't survive either. LNG start this summer off with a bang.
Welcome the new organization to town, making Tongting fans happy with their performance so far. That game was so insane, and they have finally found a suitable mid laner. I think that's what we take away from this new LNG roster. Was able to stand out to Yagao, and the last team fight was done so well. Because of his AP ratios, the death charge took Imp to half health. That was a targeted ability, no way to dodge it out. Also burned the supercharge from Imp, so he could not return to the team fight, and they take it in style.
And it's that moment I realized that depth charge scales with AP, and Silas had a hell of a lot of AP, but stealing away all ultimates. And literally all ultimates from JDG. Plex on your screen. Absolute stellar performance there. Good to see the new mid laner in action. Good to see Caveman in the form of Duan looking pretty solid there as well. And LNG, after that series, I can say this team is a contender. More so than Spring.
Definitely is the case. I think LNG, they still have a couple of issues to iron out. You could still point out things in their team fighting and the way they did wave control that could be improved on. Yeah. But the basis has a very high ceiling. You finally have 3 carries, tri-carries as a triple threat looking forward into the summer split. As for JD Gaming, you still see a lot of issues with communication. I think that's the main thing that JD Gaming suffered so far. The mid-jungle synergy, not something that they've ever been known to be a strong point with. Cost them very heavily in the early game. Flawless getting his first flash blown out, and then the Zoom teleport right next to their mid lane tower. I think those were 2 big points that they need to review, iron out, if they want to continue and be a top 2 team in the LPL.
I would say, though, that this was a very long series for both teams. And the consistency that kind of came through Game 1 and Game 2, there were moments back and forth. But that Game 3 says it all. That for JDG, there is still that element that they are a top 8 team. They're a top 2 team. They're the team that upset everyone. For LNG, there's that essence of what Snake was and what Snake were achieving to do since 2014-15. Trying to make playoffs, trying to make the run. And there's a lot of hope here for New Snake, for LNG. Great time to rebrand because the team's looking better than ever.
The key thing for me, LNG did not have the talent in the past.
Yes.
They could not play aggressive early and seek to get away with it against the top teams of the LPL. Now I think they have moved up a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe the top teams are still out of reach, but they should definitely be aiming for a playoff berth this split. Because their bottom lane, when you give them something like a Sivir, Asura did very well on that. I love the fleet footwork and kind of chipping way that they played instead of the lethal tempo that we've been seeing mainly on the Sivir style. So if you give them priority, if you give them early game champions, they can now effectively snowball their composition. And I think SofM has recognized that as well. They're playing much more for the ganks earlier on. You could
Which is not SofM. You're like, it's someone else playing in his spot, but it was him. Definitely him.
So as long as LNG can realize what they've become, I think their future is incredibly bright.
I think that now everyone out there going, LNG or a team like JDG, even you start questioning maybe with FPX it's a bit too early to tell, but some of the other top teams you say there is potential. You put them up against a team like Suning, a team like Vici or whatever, you go, oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Or the way things are going. So there is a lot that's just thrown out the window after that last series. And the way the LPL shaped up so far in 2019, this seems about right.
Yeah, this seems really good.
Right.
LNG, I want to see how they match up against the mid-tier, kind of like playoff range teams, WE, BLG, Suning, and the new Rogue Warriors. I think these 4 teams are going to be their biggest opposition. If they can pass that test, they're very comfortably in playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that you bring up new Rogue Warriors. Sorry,
New Rogue Warriors
I can't wait to talk about that. But I can't wait to see more of LNG. Because after this matchup, I say, all right, and we will break this down in a quick second. I say, okay, where is your weakness now? It's probably Plex because of, mid lane. But is it? Or is it the bottom lane?
Well,
where is the core weakness? Whereas before we said Marla, Andy, mid for sure. And the rest of the map felt influenced by it. Now I go, okay, maybe Plex, but is it communication? Like, what is it? It's not all right skill, because his skill is all right.
True, true. I want to see what happens when he's focused down, like systematically targeted by both mid laner and jungle. That's when you really know, can communication actually win you the game? When he has a lane frozen by EDG, Scout is there holding the wave, and he needs to call SofM to unfreeze the wave. That's when you really know.
And you're like, that's when you learn how to call your jungler in a different way.
That's when you really know how good their Mandarin actually is. That's going to be the key point for me. And against teams that just they build the bread and butter out of communication, teams like EDG, if they can pass that, then okay, they're great.
Yeah.
But I'm not putting them there right now. I'm still thinking EDG is still a bit further ahead. If they can crack into 6 to 8, I think those are the places that they should aim for this new LNG squad.
And before we talk about MVP and all that, let's just break down a little bit of that game. Because in pick and bans, that for me was, I think, probably some of the best drafts out of both teams of that series.
For sure.
There was clear, concise conditions, and especially for LNG, that mid game, the strength there and how they got through the laning phases made so much sense, especially coming out of those winning lanes that we expected to see.
The key thing for me is LNG, SofM is still one of the top junglers in the LPL. His early pathing forced Zoom to play in a very defensive posture.
Yeah.
You look at that early flash that they took out of Flawless and the way he pathed. Flawless wanted to equalize with a vertical jungler. He didn't get to do that. And essentially SofM got 3 quadrants of the entire map and was able to force the top lane to forfeit CS in the meantime.
Plus it essentially put bottom lane in a worse position when he got round to the bottom quadrant and so on and so forth. It was a ripple effect.
Yes, so I think SofM is still one of the best junglers at that. He always comes out with experience leads, and he really breaks a lot of the things that we consider pillars as junglers. Like, take your buff on spawn. He's like, no, I'm just going to walk around. We don't need that. Yeah, so that's the key thing here. And if he can put that influence into his lanes, whereas he really didn't have...
He didn't do that before
Yeah,
at
he
all.
didn't really have laners to do that before. If now he has the laners where he can then move his jungle presence into the laning phase, then you have a very scary team.
Yeah, it really does. That's why I was like, oh, SofM, you know, is a great jungler in the LPL, but what bridges, how does he bridge that gap? Yeah. Suddenly, I now know. Gank, you know, be a team player. SofM in that series was a heavy team player. So then, as we progress, if this continues, you go down a path of saying, oh, SofM actually top tier. Absolutely. And that's what makes LNG top tier as well.
Flande, SofM is already top tier. Plex, we still need to see how his communication evolves.
Yep.
Asura, see his
Growing.
damage charts already very high. If he can play those early aggressive champions, I think that's when LNG really take it to another gear. So far, he's been sticking to the hyper carries. I want to see what happens when he goes on something like the Lucian, something like the Kalista. Can he survive in those type of metas?
Yeah.
That's really gonna determine how far your team can go.
We're gonna get there first, of course. In that game, I have found out MVP is none other than the quadra kill denied by SofM, the pentakill denied by SofM rather. Plex did 35% damage on Silas, and that feels good.
Well done on Plex. You can see that this guy is actually very good in the team fights. I was surprised by that. And in a lot of moments, he actually had better synergy with SofM than Flawless did with Yagao. The gank in the mid lane definitely helped him out. Earlier roams there as well. So maybe the communication issues are not going to be that much of a problem going forward. There's hope in there. So far, we haven't seen a lot of his champion pools. We've only seen the one Silas and the one Nico. So that's going to be another test to him, but it does look promising.
I'm super excited because you bring over someone from Korea. You bring over someone who up until May was with Griffin in their team as a sub. Now onto a main roster in the LPL. It's just showing you that, you know, importing talent works out pretty well. That is it for today. For LNG, big congratulations because that series was absolute banging. However, in our standings now, LNG start off strong. JDG down there with DMO, Clement.
Ooh.
Let's bring up those standings. Let's go. Let's rip it up because this is not what I expected from those two teams.
JD Gaming really didn't show up to the new split. We felt like they had a great summer split. I thought that they would play around their top lane a little bit more, focus that as their main winning point, give it ganks, give it jungle resources. We haven't really seen that. In these games, Zoom has been allowed to fall very far behind, and I was quite surprised by that. I actually felt like with Zoom becoming, a lot of people saying he's become the second best top laner, maybe even in the world, I expected JD Gaming to throw him a bone, give him more resources, and really play around that strong point. But in the games we've seen so far, it's still pretty dicey. JD Gaming is still trying to find a stable early game lane that they can invest into.
Of course, we're still looking forward to OMG, RW, TOP to play their first series of the LPL summer. Rogue Warriors, I just want to talk about so much about, Clement. I hope we're doing that. Otherwise, I'll just send you a text while I'm talking about it with Raz. Or Niberia will be doing it, but Rogue Warriors is super, super exciting. This is going to be one of the closest splits. I'm just going to say that now because it already looks absolutely juicy. But of course, with the LPL, we'll be back on, what day is that? That's Friday, of course, coming back. I was just wondering, I'm like, hang on, day 3.
Excuse me, this is the Thursday game that will not be broadcasted on the LPL English channel, but you can catch it on the Chinese streaming platforms in Huya and Dori. We have RNG versus LGD. It's always going to be a fun matchup. Lots of LGD fans in that one.
You know, normally we don't broadcast on the Thursdays, of course, but tomorrow we're doing our broadcast, RNG, LGD. Not English broadcast, as you said, but this is the Friday, Mr. Clement Chu, Beachy, TES, New Top Esports. See how they go.
Yep, they've changed their logo. They changed their abbreviation, so TES is going to be it. And Rogue Warriors versus RNG. This one's a banger, an interesting one, because Rogue Warriors actually beat RNG last time they faced each other. They were a 15th place team taking down RNG, a 4th place team.
That was with Wuji. That was a pentakill in front of, and he stole Baron with a true shot barrage. So I'm looking forward to that matchup. That's looking pretty spicy. Holder coming in. Well, that's a big highlight for me, up from Rogue Warriors Sharks. So that's something you shouldn't miss, especially Rogue Warriors, RNG, the history we talked about in spring.
And RNG is looking so sharp. That team fight that they were able to do against W, 5-for-0, perfect team fight between the towers. That really shows me that RNG is back to play. A lot of times in regular split, they don't have the best record. They look a little bit lost. but they're coming in strong for summer. They want to win back that World Championship that they didn't really find in 2018. So they got that chip on their shoulder. I can't wait to see what happens.
That's what it's all about. The road to Rift Rivals, of course, already designated, decided by our top 4 in spring, but the road to Worlds begins here and, of course, ends for tonight. Thank you so much to Clement Chu. Thank you so much to our production team. My name is Hysterics, and it is bye for now, but not forever.